Hello again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher. Welcome back to Studio B. Recently, I was invited up to MITUTOYO of AMERICA, that's up in Aurora, Illinois, and I took a field trip along with my friend Andy Current, and it's about an hour and a half drive. We had a great time, and this trip was arranged by Mr. SHAUN POLLITT. He's the digital marketing manager. And I also met up with Nicole Smith, she's head of human resources, and several other people who were so kind to us and met us at the front door with a welcoming committee. Now, I'm not used to that kind of attention, but it sure was wonderful. I loved the way they treated us. They gave us the grand tour. We were there for a couple of hours. So this is part one of a two-part video because there's a lot to cover. Now, everything was done with a portable camera without good audio recording system, so the audio is lacking in some places. There will be some voiceovers and you might hear voices in the background and so on, but bear with me because there's some amazing things to see. Now, be warned that this is not open to the public. You can't just go up there and walk in and be shown around, because it is their American headquarters where all products arrive and then are distributed out of that facility. So it's a big office building and a warehouse and a classroom and a studio and a lot more. So hang with me and be sure and watch both parts. I think you're going to enjoy this. Well, we just got off the tollway and we're pulling into MITUTOYO of AMERICA, over to the visitor parking lot. And we're only a couple hundred feet from the tollway if we were to go straight ahead through the trees. Beautiful building. Thank you for getting me here safely, Jesus and Andy. Well, we're finally here. It was a rather harrowing experience on the tollway, but we made it safely and can't wait to go in. And I've got my buddy Andy here as my navigator and friend, and we're going to have a good time. So let's go on inside. Okay, here I am in the main lobby picking up my badge, and there were 4 people to welcome us.
Just recently, this is kind of exciting for us. So I mentioned on the calibration side, we have certifications, including proficiency testing. So just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we piloted our first student certification. So that started with a caliper. You're looking at the level 2 practical test for that. So we ran 32 students through it and 6 faculty, and we're going through the testing results and tweaking little things. So soon, like we hope that students all over the United States will become MITUTOYO certified to use a caliper. What a wonderful thing for them to have on their resume. So that's really cool. That's something that we're really, really excited about.
And you know, sometimes I'm sure you're amazed at how little some people know about some of this stuff.
100%. Yep.
If they haven't had some shop classes, you know, over the years, even intelligent people may be ignorant of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about dumb people here by any means. But yeah, this is a very impressive room. Even the maple countertops here, you know,
Yeah.
tables.
So when we teach classes here, there's a camera on the ceiling.
Oh yeah.
So anything that we're demonstrating here shows up on the TV behind us. If you were to join a MITUTOYO training class like 10 years ago, it would have been rows and rows of tons of people. So we stripped that way down, and we purposely keep the classes small, and all the students get all the hands-on equipment. So when we're teaching how to calibrate micrometers and calipers, the students get to do it. They sit at these tables, they use all the same equipment, and they go through all the motions, as opposed to a death by PowerPoint sort of thing. Classes, etc. We take them on the road.
Yeah, this is really something.
I still have mine from, it's gotta be 40 years old.
MITUTOYO caliper? Nice. If you take care of them, they'll last forever. And so it's one of the things I love about working here. Like, we want you to be able to repair your tools.
Yeah.
And we have a full repair shop. That's awesome. I love that. We want these things to last. Take care of them, they'll last. Yep.
We do.
Yep. That's nice.
Don't forget we teach repair classes as well.
And indeed, yeah. So we teach inspection classes, calibration classes, repair classes. Like we want you to. We don't want you to just have to go buy a new one. This thing should last you forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still has.
That's one complaint that we have. Is like,
Yeah.
I've had this and I want to get a new model, but it's not broken.
Yeah, I've had this since 1976 or something along those lines, right?
All I need is new batteries.
And when I just want to make sure that that you guys know, we have, do you know who Jim Salisbury is?
I know.
Okay, so Jim Salisbury, he's been with our organization. He came to us from Cummins. He went to Northern Illinois.
Yeah, no worries. Most of these gauge blocks that are in here, for example, these are retired sets out of our Cal lab. So like they were used. We have gauge blocks in here and ring gauges in here that are 40, 50, 60 years old.
How do you know how old they are, Josh?
Well, as an example, here's your little trivia. So if you're looking at a MITUTOYO gauge block, we'll pull a serial block out here. The serial number, the first two values of the serial number are the year it was made. So this one was made in 1990. So we have some in here. I know I've seen from the 70s, and I think we have at least one in here that is from the 60s. I think we have a ring gauge that's that old. Yeah, so we got, depending on what we're doing, depending on what class we're teaching, we will essentially pull all tools that we need to teach that class. So if we're looking for gauge blocks, then we're coming over to these drawers, looking for whichever gauge blocks that we need. The vast majority of these gauge blocks are retired gauge blocks from our Cal lab. So they're not good enough to use in that environment anymore, but we can absolutely use them in here to help teach and train folks.
Oh, yeah. Or for general shop use, they still would be wonderful.
Yes. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're not like, the students can practice ringing gauge blocks and we're not worried about them dropping, damaging, etc., because they're here to learn on. Yeah. There are some pieces of equipment in here that we could use as backups in the Cal lab, but yeah, the vast majority of everything in here is for learning purposes. Don't have to worry about the students breaking anything. But if they do break it, again, we also teach repair classes.
Interest.
Well, you're gonna put us in 2 separate videos. Come on back. Today, MITUTOYO America, or MITUTOYO Corporation, and all of the places, all the subsidiaries in 30 different countries around the world, is a family-owned company. And the president today is Yoshiaki Numata, and he is the grandson of our founder, Eihan Numata.
Good. I'm glad to have that background.
Yeah, we are not publicly traded. We don't want anybody. And I think that that's one of the main things about this company and what makes us so proud is the quality, right? And they're very hands-on. I always say that we don't buy our screws, we make our screws in order to put our stuff together. That I had heard that even the granite, where we mine our granite, that we have some sort of control over the granite production and where we get that from, so that we have all of our hands on that quality production. I was actually just had the honor to be over in Japan and do a couple of factory tours, and we went into the micrometer factory, and every single micrometer, after it's all produced on the production line, is quality inspected by hand. They turn the dial of every single one of these, and I want to say it's 18,000 that they're pumping out on a weekly basis. Wow. And they touch every single one of them because precision is our profession.
Yeah. Fabulous.
But in our showroom here in our U.S. headquarters, we have a nice display of the representation of our catalog of almost 6,000 unique devices. Over here in the center, we have a small display and assortment of our small hand tools. The things that everyone knows us for are calipers, micrometers, indicators, hold tests, height gauges, thousands and thousands and different variations of all the hand tools that we're well known for. Mechanical, digital, you name it. Veneer still, yeah, we got them. So we have some of this on display, but obviously the thousands of different ones we have, we're very well known for in our catalog. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you have a question?
You know, your digital caliper, probably that model, is coveted so much. And I also understand there are imitations out that you can buy on, I don't know where you buy them, but
Right.
and it's probably hard to tell the difference, you know, just by glancing at it. But obviously there would be a big difference in the quality and the accuracy.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate that that's out there. But as you mentioned, maybe visually is one thing, but as soon as anyone that's used a MITUTOYO caliper, that's what we're known for. You can feel it when you first grab it and slide that across there, and then the longevity over time, that doesn't degrade at all, and that's noticeable when you're not using our.
Well, the caliper that they gave me recently, probably that model
the
there,
dial caliper.
I was blown away by the smoothness, because there are some that feel like they've been in the beach, you know, in the sand. They're so rough, and that, you know, those are just as smooth as a hound's tooth.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I started with the company in our small tool repair department, repairing items like this. It is pretty amazing, the components in there. They're more similar to, you know, high precision watch components. There are nice quality pinions in there with ruby bearings. That's what gives you that motion. These are not just, you know, this way here and everything of high quality. It has to do with everything. The fine teeth here, the items in the movement. It's almost like a precision watch inside of the dial.
Yeah, it's significantly
assembly.
better than the ones at Horrible Freight. That's one of the catchwords I use in my videos, Horrible
Gotcha.
Freight.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, I mean, we could spend all day. There's gauge blocks, all the different types of micrometers. You know, measuring an inside diameter can be challenging. So there's many different ways. Your 2-point dial bore gauges, your 3 points of contact, pistol grip type bore gauges, hold tests, things of that nature. All your little test indicators, specialized measurements. As mentioned, thousands and thousands of different things.
Oh yeah.
Those have been around forever, refined to the highest degree of quality, but the new trend and a big discussion with any hand gauges lately, and will be in the future, are items like, some of it is on display over here, but you know, you have these digital components. Now what can you do with that besides just read a number? They have the ability to communicate wirelessly. So now these small items can be used to measure in a factory environment, and at the press of a button, send that information to data collection. Now with some of these new models, that communication can come to the gauge as well and have some other things going on, like setting a calibration date. So now there's some intelligence to these where it can communicate with the system to know when they need to be calibrated, as well as transmitting data and other information. So even the small gauges are getting more intelligent.
Is that by Bluetooth? Is that?
A similar technology, but Bluetooth is not the best for a factory environment.
All right.
It doesn't go far, and it doesn't like interruptions like cement walls. So we actually use a wireless technology that's similar called Zigbee, but it can go a lot further and it can go through more
right.
material.
Yeah.
So it's more conducive.
That's
to
a
it.
little beyond me, but it's the general idea.
It's a
of
similar wireless technology,
wireless, yes.
but better than Bluetooth. We actually have Bluetooth transmitters available too if you're working at a station where the PC's kind of right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
But for long distance transmission, we have something better. So that's just a quick overview. Hand gauges, we could talk forever. We have a whole category we call PMI, but it's dozens of different specialized instruments. Are you familiar with hardness testing?
Yeah. The Rockwell. When I worked at Caterpillar, I used a hardness tester.
So we have a variety of product that they're not hand gauges, but they're not what we call capital equipment. There's something in between. Things like a laser scan micrometer, something where you put a cylindrical part in a laser scanner. It measures the interruption to a very high degree of precision, non-contact, fast measurement, high accuracy. It's really good for things like pins, high precision diameter measurement, wire, variety of sizes. Hardness testers are part of that middle category. We have high-end height gauges. Over around the corner, I'm sure you're familiar with optical comparators and microscopes.
Yes, I had an optical comparator, an older one though, nothing like what you make. An old sheer Tamiko is what it was.
You know, the core technology hasn't changed. That's a light bulb and a mirror and a big screen. But now there's a computer attached to it with software where you can run programs and collect data. But the core technology, now there's brighter lights and everything, but they're still very prevalently used, and we still sell a lot of them new to customers. So that's kind of our small tools and middle product. I'd like to give you a review. We have 3 categories of what we call capital equipment. So we'll migrate right back around here. When it comes to dimensional measurement, length measurements in most production facilities, the most common and versatile large piece of equipment is a CMM. Are you familiar with a CMM in general?
Not really.
So a coordinate measuring machine moves in 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, and typically uses a touch probe. It moves around in 3D and measures a part in 3D. So I say it's the most versatile because these can be very large. They can measure in 3D, so they can measure almost anything you could want to do in 3D measurement in one machine. So as I mentioned, almost every precision manufacturing facility has some kind of CMM. Now they range in size from things, this is on the smaller size, that's on the medium to getting larger size, but they do get a lot larger than that as well. There are special ones that are designed to be on the shop floor, like this one over here. This has scales and protection and certain features that allow it to be in an environment that's not as well temperature controlled and has more harsh conditions. There are more high accuracy precision machines like those that need to be in temperature control. But in the end, these all measure in 3D. You can load a giant 3D part up there, be it a transmission case, 1,000 smaller parts in a fixture, you name it. This can do most 3D measurement very well. Where it cannot is where some of this other equipment fits in. You can measure roundness and cylindricity on a CMM to a certain degree of accuracy, but once you have a need for something past that, I'll show you some other equipment that's for that. So
That's quite a chunk of granite.
yeah, right?
Gee.
Like I said, I wouldn't call this a big one either. The measuring volume on this machine, we call it a 12-20-10. That means 1,200 millimeters in X, 2,000 or 2 meters in Y, and 1 meter Z. So that cube here is everywhere it can get to and measure. The machine's a little bit bigger than that, but you're talking about almost 4 feet by 6 feet by 3 feet cube here. You can get some pretty big parts in here, and not only physically measure them with a probe like the one on here, but that silver box back there is a laser probe. This machine can automatically go retrieve other probes, and it can laser scan a part. Over here we have some other types of probes. You can touch a part, single point or touch scan with all these touch probes. They can get longer, smaller, whatever you need. You can laser probe a part with this probe. You can do a specialized measurement, surface roughness testing with this probe. The CMM is an extremely versatile machine, as I mentioned, and you can automate just about anything. This is a special measuring rotary table, so for high precision measurement of things like gears and rotational measurement like that.
It looks like a turbine blade or...
That's exactly what, this is a demo
turbocharger or
piece that we made to represent gear and turbines and turbine blades and some other radial features like this slot here. This is our demo block so we can train and demonstrate using our rotary table here. So the CMM, coordinate measuring machine, 3D, it can do a lot, and it can do most of what our customers need for length measurement. But then there's times where they need something done differently or something a CMM can't do. One other product we have that does something differently is a VMM, or video measuring machine, or vision system. This is the same principle as a CMM. It moves in X, in Y, and in Z, but instead of a touch probe right here, it's a camera and lighting.
Wow.
So now you're measuring based off of an image it's looking at all over this 3D cube. It's using lighting and camera tools to use images to measure in 3D space. when you need to measure fast or non-contact or very, very small features, those are things maybe a CMM can't accomplish. This has magnification, it's very fast, it's non-contact, it can measure very small things. The medical industry doesn't want contact of their parts for measurement, so vision is very critical there. There are many sizes and different styles of this, but the principle is the same. You can even get a video system and have a secondary sensor like a touch probe. That way you can measure quick with the camera, and if you can't see something with the camera, you can send the touch probe and go down in a hole or a side hole or what it might be. So very flexible machines. You can have a CMM with touch probe and camera too, so it depends on what platform you really want, but these are very popular systems as well. So you have CMM, VMM, and then the crazy category is the third one called form. And they're all stuffed in a category that does them well one by one. Surface roughness testing. That's measuring the micro texture of a surface after it's machined. You're talking extremely small peaks and valleys in the sub-micron or millionths of an inch level. So the ruby ball on that CMM can never get you the resolution of that texture that you need. You can never see it with the camera. So there are many specialized pieces of equipment here called profilometers or roughness testers. They have a very small needle here. You can probably barely see it there. 1,000th of an inch or two, can be as small as, no, that's contracer. 2 microns, so 80 millionths of an inch radius diamond point. 2 micron, 80 millionths. So when we drag that diamond stylus across the surface, it can measure those extremely small peaks and valleys, and there's a whole science of measurement called surface texture or roughness measurement and used in the industry. Anytime you have mating surfaces, lubricated surfaces, any interacting surface, you have to know that roughness of it and how it's going to interact or retain lubricant or wear out or adhere to something else like glue or paint.
They did a lot of that at Caterpillar
Oh,
where
of
we were
course.
making fuel injectors. And those
Very
little
important.
parts were all checked with a profilometer, but this was already 20 years ago, so it wouldn't have been. And they were using machinery from England. I forgot the name of it.
Taylor Hobson, most likely.
What was it?
Taylor Hobson.
That was it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an English company that
Mhm.
was at the forefront of this kind of equipment. So surface roughness is one component of a very specialized measurement that can't be done very well or at all with all the more common equipment. So you have specialized handheld units, more advanced units, software-based units, but they all drag a diamond over that surface and collect the very high.
This is the end of part 1. Be sure and watch part 2 when available. Thank you to the team at MITUTOYO of America. Lots of still pictures to follow.